Hey you guys, sorry I couldn't be there today, but this video is going to go over what we would have done in class. First thing we're going to do is open up the notes, do a couple of review questions, and then we'll actually work through the daily. So go ahead and click on modules in Canvas and open up today's notes. Today is August 27th. We're going to review the steps to solving linear equations and identify the slope and y-intercept from those equations. So first thing we're going to do is remember the actual steps by filling in these blanks over here. We went over the same 5 steps all week long. The first step is distribute. Yes, you should probably write these down. Second step is combine. We're going to move our answer. Move everything else. And our last step is to multiply or divide. Kind of just depends on what we got in the equation. Make sure you jot those steps down. When I write them again, I'll most likely abbreviate them. So just make sure you write those steps down so that you have them as we're working these out. So same thing that we did when we solved equations in class. We are going to start by drawing our line down the equal sign. Step 1 is distribute. Remember, we distribute when we have parentheses. That means we're going to take this number outside of the parentheses and multiply it to every number inside of the parentheses. Don't forget that there's a 1 in front of that x. So on the left-hand side, since we're not distributing over here, everything is going to come down. And on the right-hand side, we have 2 times 1x. 2 times 1 is 2, and the x stays. Then we have 2 times negative 1. This is a positive 2. Positive times a negative is a negative. 2 times 1 is 2. So that was our first step, distribute. Next, we're going to see if we can combine anything. So I'm going to look on the left-hand side. Can I combine those two? No. Then I'm going to look on the right-hand side. Can I combine those two? No. So even though that is our step 2, we do not have anything to combine. I'm just going to skip step 2. Step 3 is move our answer. Remember, we want our y to be on the left-hand side. We want our equation to look like y equals mx plus b. Since our y is already on the left side, we are going to say that we have already done step number 3. We're good to go. That means we need to move everything else to the other side. Well, what is everything else on this problem? This 3x does not need to be on this side. We need to move it to the other side. So I'm going to take that and move it to the other side. When I move it to the other side, it's going to go from a positive 3x to a negative 3x. Notice that I'm lining it up with the x's. Also, one thing I want you to remember is this. Can we circle this negative 4 and just move it to the other side? Absolutely not. This negative 4 is attached to that y. That's negative 4 times y. We cannot just move it to the other side. So since we've already moved this 3x, it's already gone, we're going to write what we have left. We still have a negative 4y. On this side, we got to think about what this says. 2 minus 3. 2 minus 3 is a negative 1, and the minus 2 comes down. So that was step 4. We moved everything else to the other side. Our last step is to multiply or divide, and we talked about this in class. We cannot just put plus 4. You're probably saying, well, Ms. James, we did the opposite up there with the 3x. We changed it to a minus 3x. Yes, but that was different. This negative 4 is being multiplied to the y. So in order to get rid of that negative 4, we have to do the opposite of multiply, which is divide. We're going to take everything on this problem and divide it by negative 4. That way, these two numbers cancel out, and the only thing we have left on that side is the y, which is what we want. So on the right-hand side, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 1 over 4 just stays 1 over 4. The x stays there. Same thing, we have a negative divided by a negative. That's going to be a positive. And 2 over 4 is the same thing as 1 over 2. I don't want you to confuse yourself here. If you get confused right here, negative 2 divided by negative 4, pick up your calculator. Use it, which you should have a calculator and an expo because you should be writing some of this down. So yes, 2 over 4 is 1 over 2. The question is going to ask you for M and it's going to ask you for B. M is your number in front of the X. On this problem, when we type it into Canvas, we just type the 1 over 4. You do not need to put the plus sign, and please do not put the X, or we'll count it wrong. Our B on this problem is 1 over 2. You do not have to put the plus sign. Remember, when you type this into Canvas, it's going to look like, 1/4 and 1/2. No spaces. Put it all together. So that's how we review our steps that we learned in class. And we're just going to do one more example before we work on our daily. It's the same 5 steps from before, so I'm just going to abbreviate. Distribute, combine. We're going to move the answer. We're going to move everything else. And the last step is to multiply or divide. So those are just my abbreviations. Same 5 steps. First thing we do, draw our lines on our equal sign. Remember, y'all, it's a video. You should be writing this down and you should be working it out with me. Pause it right now if you need more time to write it down. It's a video. Okay? All right, so step 1 is distribute. We're going to go ahead and draw our arrows from the number outside of the parentheses to everything inside of the parentheses. There's a 1 in front of that X. Since we're not distributing on the left-hand side, everything over there is going to stay the same. On the right-hand side, we have 6 times 3, which is 18. We have 6 times negative 1x. So 6 times negative 1 is negative 6, and the x stays with it. We're not distributing to that minus 2. It's outside of the parentheses, so it just comes down. Step 1, distribute. We done. Step 2 is combine. So on the left-hand side, we're going to look and see, is there anything that I can combine on the left-hand side? Remember, you can combine the ones that have the same letters with the same exponents. Is there anything we can combine with this 7x that's on the left side? This negative 1x can be combined with that. 7 minus 1 is 6. So that's going to be 6x. And the minus 2y just comes down. We're going to do the same thing on the right-hand side. Is there anything I can combine on the right-hand side? First thing I see is an 18. Is there any other number all by itself? No letter. There's a minus 2. If we were to write those next to each other, that looks like 18 minus 2, which is 16. We did not combine the minus 6x with anything, so it comes down. Keep the symbol with the number. Step 2, combine, done. Step 3 is move your answer. And as we've talked about, we want to make sure that y is on the left-hand side, so we're good on step 3. Step 4 is move everything else, which means that this 6x needs to be moved to the other side. It's a positive 6 over here, so when I move it to the other side, it becomes a negative 6. It's no longer on this side. The minus 2y comes down. 16 comes down. What does this say? This says minus 6, negative 6, minus 6. If you want to type that in the calculator, you can. Or you can think about it, if Miss James borrows $6 and I borrow 6 more, that means I owe you $12. So that's going to be minus 12x. Negative 6 minus 6 is negative 12. Step 4, move everything else. Done. Our last step is to multiply or divide. And remember, when you have a number written next to a letter, you are multiplying. Doesn't matter if that number is positive or negative. When you have a number written next to a letter, you are multiplying. So in order to get rid of that negative 2, we're going to do the opposite of multiply, which is divide everything by negative 2. That way, those two numbers cancel out. And now all we have left on this side is our y. I did not mean for my line to go away. 16 divided by negative 2. So that's a positive divided by a negative. That's going to be a negative. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Then we have negative 12 divided by negative 2. That's a negative divided by a negative. That's a positive. 12 divided by 2 is 6, and the x stays with it. The only thing that we have to do on this problem is make sure that we write our x in the front. So this plus 6x needs to go first, and the minus 8 is going to go last. That way, when the question asks you for m, you know that m is your number in front of x. So on this problem, m is 6. Our slope is 6. It's going to ask you for b, which is your y-intercept. Your y-intercept is the number all by itself. So on this problem, the b is negative 8. Your y-intercept is negative 8. I'm going to stop this video just so it's not too long. And then on the next video, we're actually going to work out the problems for daily number 3. So go ahead, make sure you get both of those examples done, and then open the next video for the examples for daily 3.